Hi, this is Chris from Northern FanCon. I am with Bev Vincent, author, and when we lift up the book, you see Flight or Fright, and it will be probably
backwards.
Flight or Fright, 7 Turbulent Tales, edited by Stephen King and Bev Vincent. Obviously, this is a kind of a Stephen King location. There's a lot of connections. Did you know that Dreamcatcher was shot here?
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, Dreamcatcher was shot here because Sarah Schenck, who's just 2 eras over, she was once part of the Prince George Film Commission, and she helped bring Dreamcatcher, Double Jeopardy, and Reindeer Games. So Stephen King has actually been in Prince George.
I'll have to mention that to him.
It's very, very, very long time ago.
Oh yeah, that was in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
No, that's actually must be early 2000s because that was the first book he wrote after his accident. Dreamcatcher.
Oh yeah, wow. And Mark Bernardin is just straight over that way. He's a writer on Castle Rock. And then you've authored The Dark Tower Companion.
Yeah, and The Road to the Dark Tower. So 2 books about the Dark Tower series. And then another one...
The Magnum Opus of Stephen King.
And then another one called The Stephen King Companion, which I did for Barnes & Noble. Which was an interesting one because he gave us access to his archives.
Yeah.
And we were able to reproduce documents like the original letter that he got when Carrie was published.
Oh, wow.
Letters that he wrote as a kid, stories he wrote as a kid, and early drafts of manuscripts of some of the more famous books that we were able to include in this companion to his life and career.
And you know that another local production, around somewhere, we did the film Dollar Babies project for Doctor's Case.
Yes, I've been talking to James quite often.
Yeah, James Douglas, director and writer of that adaptation.
That's one of the main reasons I'm here, I guess, because I worked on a Dollar Baby project too back in 2005. We did one called Gotham Cafe.
Oh, really?
The original story was Lunch at the Gotham Cafe, and it's the only one that King has actually endorsed it to the extent that it's Stephen King's Gotham Cafe.
Oh, ooh.
And he does a voice cameo in it.
No way.
Yeah, he calls in as a lawyer talking to the main character.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We also have Mick Garris, who was the director of The Shining.
Yeah, Mick Garris,
he has a cameo in it. And Steve Wozniak from Apple.
Apple.
he was part of the production, the financing of it, and then he has a very funny cameo as a bloody patron in this restaurant.
And can you find this? Is this one available online?
It's not. None of the Dollar Babies are available online. That's one of the restrictions on it. Yeah. But you can find the trailer for it.
Occasionally, a few of them manage to get an endorsement. And
yes.
And I know that I think Frank Darabont's one you might be seeing.
Those are the early ones. Darabont's. There were 2 that are actually released on video. The Woman in the Room and there was another. They came out as a pair on video back in the 90s. But yeah, the problem with that is King wants to maintain the rights to those stories so he can sell them commercially, and if they become too widely available, then people aren't so likely to pay money to adapt them.
That's fantastic.
And so this book,
this
book came about. I got to go to Bangor a couple of years ago to the premiere of the Dark Tower movie. King's office had invited a bunch of people in, and we were having dinner before the movie was screening. And this was at a diner right across from Bangor Airport, and everybody had flown in. So many people coming from California. And King was going around the room talking to everybody who was there, shaking hands, talking. And everybody had a story about how they got there. And after King had heard a bunch of these, he came over to Richard Chismar, who's the Cemetery Dance publisher. And Rich has done a bunch of work with Steve over the years. And he said, I just had this great idea for an anthology. He said, we'd collect all of the scary stories about flying. So I just read this great one by Arthur Conan Doyle that was written back, when the flight was, they thought of the altitudes the same way we think about the depths these days. If you go high enough, you'll find strange creatures up there in the stratosphere.
Twilight Zone.
Exactly. The Twilight Zone story was another one. And so, I wrote the Langoliers, and he said, there's probably a bunch of them out there. And he said to Rich, you can publish this. He said, I'll need some help finding more stories. And I just happened to be sitting next to Rich, and he said, that'll be your job. So over the course of the next several months, we started looking at what stories were out there. And it's a fairly small subset of fiction. There aren't that many flying stories that are sort of in the scary and things. But we found a Bradbury story.
And King actually has, isn't Langoliers having?
Yeah, we were going to do the Langoliers first, but when we started looking at the Langoliers, we think of as a novella, but it's this long.
Beefy.
It's this long.
It's beefy, yeah.
And it would have sort of dwarfed things. So he said, well, maybe I'll write a new story for it. So I went, yeah, okay, that works for me. But yeah, so we've got Richard Matheson's Nightmare 20,000 Feet.
Wow.
Bradbury's got one that takes place back at the time of the China wall being built. And the emperor sees somebody who has invented a flying machine, which sort of defeats the purpose of the wall. So you can fly over it. That's the idea of
The Mongols have a...
once something is out of the box, can you ever put the genie back in the bottle again? Kind of idea. And there's an Ambrose Bierce story. Dan Simmons, who's written a lot of novels. Roald Dahl, who used to be a pilot during World War II,
Really?
has a whole bunch of flying stories, and there's one that's particularly interesting.
I think Arthur C. Clarke was a pilot as well.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Dahl's got an interesting one about this guy who goes out on a mission and doesn't come back.
Right.
And the crew figures he's gone. He comes back 2 days later, but he doesn't realize he's been gone. So that sort of fit into our idea of, scary or strange things going on in airplanes. And then King's son, Joe Hill, when he heard about the project, said, "Oh, I've got an idea too." And so we've got a brand new Joe Hill story, which is really, really good.
Right.
It takes place on a flight when the Koreans launched missiles, and World War III basically happens while this flight is in the air.
Oh, wow.
It's called You Are Released.
So there's 17
stories, 16 stories and a poem. And the poem was done by James Dickey, the guy who wrote Deliverance.
Oh, wow.
He was mostly a poet. And he was inspired by this New York Times story about a flight attendant who got sucked out the window of an airplane when it was coming into land.
I heard those stories like that, yeah.
Yeah, and so he has this long narrative poem about her falling. And her thoughts sort of like, it's very
A little on the downside.
Oh, yeah, it's a little, you know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
But we have another story that seems to be a theme, people falling out of airplanes, about this guy who finds this ring that lets him back up time, but he can only back it up 59 seconds. And he's a really bad character. He figures out all these really sneaky, nasty things he can do. He can try something, he can hit on a woman, and if it doesn't go well, they can go back out and try it again, try something else, until he finds the perfect way to push all their buttons.
Yeah.
But he's on an airplane, and there's an event, and he's falling out of the airplane, so he resets and goes back to the airplane and tries to avert this plane from going down, but things don't go well for him.
That's fascinating.
It's by this British author named B.C. Tubb, and the story's called Lucifer. It's a really, really, really cool story.
Wow. And do you have something?
I do. I've got a story in here called Zombies on a Plane. And it's the only story I've ever written where the title came first. And I had Samuel L. Jackson in mind, but I don't have any of his language in the story. But I
hate it with these.
But having come up with the idea, I said, okay, good title, but now how do I execute it? How do I actually get the zombies on the plane? And,
I could have sworn a certain producer friend of mine talking about this.
I'm sure that's very possible, yeah. James and I have talked about the possibility of doing something like this.
Yeah, so now I was like, I made the connection. I did not realize this was your story. Because I was like, oh, we're doing zombies on the plane. I'm like, are you? And then I'm talking to you like, and now it all makes sense.
It all makes sense. All comes together.
Well, let's hope that something happens for that. That'd be awesome.
You and I have sort of bandied back and forth. I've done a first pass at the script. My story ends on a note where you can tell what's going to happen. And James says, okay, let's take that and go a little bit further with it.
Yeah, and see where it goes.
So we hope to have some time this weekend to get together and hash things out.
I hope so. Are you actually selling multiple books?
I don't have any to sell now.
So you're just going to show off the book.
Just going to show it off.
But you can't buy it.
You can buy it online. The ebook's available. Paperback will be out in June. We have 12 translations, including French. Covers all
12 translations, including French.
Well, I have to say that because I'm originally from Canada. I live in the States now, but I have to address the Canadian audience, so we have French.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Bev Vincent.
Good talking.
Appreciate it. Really educational and fantastic. And if you have a question, I guess you have on Dark Tower. You can't ask Stephen King. You can ask you.
Ask me, and you can find me at bevvincent.com, and I'm on Twitter at Bev Vincent. My only caveat about Twitter is I tend to be a little bit more political than I am